Hey everyone, welcome back to another tier list. Sorry, it's been a little while. I've been waiting to watch all of this director's films before kind of jumping straight into it. So obviously we're talking about John Carpenter today. So a very famous director from the 70s, 80s and 90s in the horror genre. Had a lot of classic films come out, especially in the 70s and 80s. Very well known for things like Halloween and The Thing, and Escape from New York and films like that. So I've finally seen all of his feature films. So he's done 18 feature films. He's done a couple of TV movies as well, and I've included a few of them here. So Body Bags, which is an anthology film, is here, and Someone's Watching Me. The only thing of his I haven't seen is the Elvis TV movie that he did. So that's literally it. Everything else I've seen. So I'll be ranking them today on this tier list, and to be honest, some of the decisions here people will probably get annoyed at because there's some films of his that are really well liked and things like that that I just didn't get into, and there's a few of his films that people don't like that I actually liked quite a bit. So I'll let you know when I get to those ones. But kicking things off, we have his final film, the movie he made back in 2010, which is the last thing he's made, and that's the psychological horror film The Ward. And this was the last thing I saw of his a few days ago. I wasn't expecting much from it because everyone kind of puts it up there with one of his worst films. I don't think it was as bad as a lot of people say it is. Like, it's a very cliche and typical kind of modern horror film. It doesn't really have that John Carpenter kind of feel, and I guess that's why people don't like it, just because it's kind of feels a bit cookie cutter, I guess. But at the end of the day, it wasn't a terrible, awful film or anything like super offensive in any way. So it's not something I would throw straight into the F tier or anything like that. So I'm going to put it in the we'll put it in the D tier for now because, like I said, it's not a good movie, but it wasn't awful either. I think you just got to know that it's obviously not top tier John Carpenter at all, but it is okay for what it is, which is just a run of the mill, watch it and forget it kind of horror film. So then we have Village of the Damned. This is another one that I wasn't huge on. I liked his 90s films more than most people, I think, except Village of the Damned was probably the one I found to be the weakest. It's got an interesting concept, and actually the first act of the film was really good. I liked how they established everything and how everyone, there was this big mystery surrounding all the people of the town who fainted and didn't know what happened and all that. And it was kind of cool to see Christopher Reeve, the original Superman, in a John Carpenter film as well, and he actually did pretty good in the movie. But other than that, the movie was pretty forgettable, and it kind of ran out of steam as it went on, other than starting strong, which was quite good. But it's another film that I'd probably put in the D tier, just because it wasn't awful, but it wasn't something I'd really recommend to people or return to anytime soon. So Escape from LA. Now this is where it's going to get divisive because Escape from New York is a classic film that people love. Maybe I'll rank them together. So Escape from New York, it's one of his most popular movies. I was really excited to see it because Kurt Russell's great. I'd heard a lot about it. I was really keen to see it, and I'd heard it was like a great action kind of movie. So I saw it, and I was actually kind of disappointed by Escape from New York. Like, I liked the concept. I liked Kurt Russell in the role of Snake Plissken, but the film itself, it was not an action film at all. Like, there was a couple of shootings, but most of the movie, it's just really dark, and it's just him wandering around New York at night, running into characters and hiding and various situations and things like that. I didn't find the villain menacing at all. Other than the concept and Kurt Russell's performance, I didn't really like Escape from New York that much. I'm still going to put it in the C tier. I know a lot of people are going to be annoyed at that. They'd have it in like the S tier or the A tier. It really wasn't one that I found myself enjoying all that much. It's not an action film. Like, people say, oh, it's a classic action movie, but like, where's the action? There's almost none in the film other than a few fights and shootouts, but really minimal. And the action that is there is very dated now as well. It's not like classic, like Terminator or something like that, or Aliens. Like, it doesn't hold up as far as that's concerned. However, when it came to Escape from LA, I wasn't expecting much from it because everyone kind of craps on it. It's kind of like a hokey sequel that more so pokes fun at the story and the idea and has fun with it this time around instead of taking itself seriously. And to be honest, I actually like Escape from LA more than Escape from New York. I think it's more fun. I think it's stupid. It's got lots of bad CGI, but it's a fun movie. The characters are more memorable. There's a lot of crazy scenes and things that happen that just make it more memorable for me, and a lot of fun. I'm going to put it above New York in the B tier. It's not a great film still. Like, people are going to think I'm crazy for putting it above that, but to be honest, this is my list and my opinion, and I actually think it's a more entertaining and interesting and better film than Escape from New York. I might be like one of three people who think that, but at the end of the day, like I did enjoy it. So yeah, I'm going to defend that film a little bit more. So next up, we have easily one of the worst films, and that's Ghosts of Mars from 2001. This is straight up an F tier movie. You can understand the kind of concept and idea behind it that Carpenter was going for, but the film in the end just ended up being terrible. Like you've got Ice Cube on Mars, like that alone just sounds awful. But yeah, the movie didn't have a lot going for it. Visually, it had some interesting things, but like it was just boring and stupid and felt like a TV movie, to be honest. Vampires is probably the last good thing John Carpenter made. Most people think In the Mouth of Madness was his last good film, but I think Vampires is actually pretty good too. I think it's another solid B-tier film. It's interesting. I like the concept. I like that we get a different kind of take on vampires and vampire hunters in this movie. James Woods was really good in the leading role. And yeah, it had some fun action. I like the way that the team works together at the start, how they have this kind of routine they go through when taking care of vampires when they find a nest and things like that. And yeah, it was actually a pretty decent movie, I thought. So that's going in the B tier. Next is Starman. This is from his classic 80s era. And there was a lot of films that I wasn't as impressed with as I thought I'd be in his 80s era, and Starman was another one of them. It's one that I thought was okay, but not great, so I'm going to pop it in the C tier as well. Jeff Bridges is an actor I really like, and Karen Allen too. And they did fine in the movie, but at the end of the day, the film just kind of felt like a boring road trip film. Like they're going from point A to point B to get him back to his spaceship, and you've got the typical government on his tail trying to get him. The performances were okay. I thought he was a bit overdoing it as the alien character. Like I get what they were going for, but at the end of the day, like it connects with some people and not with others from reviews that I've seen and read and watched. But Starman, yeah, kind of a bit hit and miss for me. Like there was things I liked about it and things I disliked about it. So at the end of the day, it's just kind of a run-of-the-mill movie for me. Next up, though, is one that I find incredibly underrated, and that's Prince of Darkness from 1987, I think. And this is a really great horror film. Like, most people don't have this film as high as me on their list, but to be honest, this is, I think, my second favorite John Carpenter film. I'm going to put it in the A tier. Prince of Darkness doesn't get enough recognition, I think, from the reviews and lists that I've seen. I just think it really captures the sense of dread more than any other film that he's made. Like, there is just this sense of doom and impending, like an apocalypse coming throughout this whole film, and it works really well through the performances and through the music and the atmosphere. This film just is dripping with atmosphere. Like, it's all set mostly in this church and this church's basement and everything. But yeah, just the way they were able to kind of make this apocalyptic vibe and feeling when it's not showing what's happening out in the world, really, just in the surroundings of this church and with the homeless people around the church. It was really cool. And it had some good concepts, and I was really impressed with this movie, to be honest. I got it on 4K after watching it. But yeah, if you haven't seen Prince of Darkness, I'd highly recommend it. It was really cool and a really great 80s horror film. And I felt very similar to that as I did about Christine. I remember seeing Christine when I was very young, but I rewatched it. I wasn't expecting as much from it because, you know, like kind of like an evil car movie. How good could that be? But it was actually really good. I'm going to put it in the B tier, but I'll put it right at the top of the B tier. It was just really well done. And it's obviously a Stephen King adaptation, so you've got the bullies who are like pretty much serial killers. But it was a really fun movie, and it was really cool watching the character kind of go from this nerdy bully kid to like this psychopath pretty much because of this influence the car was having over him. But it's a really fun film as well, and just, yeah, a really entertaining 80s film that Carpenter did. So carrying on with that, we have another great film he did in the 80s, and that's They Live. This is another one that's easily in my top three, so I'm going to pop that in the A tier just behind Prince of Darkness. I think this film has a great concept. Obviously, putting on the sunglasses and you're able to see the real world, or the world for what it really is, and kind of read into everything. It's a really clever way of getting you through a film in a new kind of way that I guess hasn't really been done before. So the sequence, like when he puts on the glasses for the first time, is awesome. I love that scene, as well as like the 7-minute fight scene that he has halfway through the movie. Those two are like the standout scenes that most people talk about. But the whole film surrounding it is quite good as well. Like the whole opening mystery to it, what's happening in this church, um, with these people making these sunglasses and things like that, and the big like ending with the shootouts through the hallways and stuff. So They Live is a really good 80s film as well, and I really enjoyed that movie and had a lot of fun with it too. And I got it on 4K as well. So Someone's Watching Me is a TV movie, so it's not theatrical at all, but it's a TV movie that he made back in the 70s when he did, the same year he did Halloween actually. And it's kind of thriller in the vein of a Hitchcock movie. So this is it's very interesting because it's the only movie that Carpenter's made that's kind of like a Hitchcock film or a thriller, because most of his films are kind of like horror or action. So he doesn't really go into the thriller side or suspense side of things too much. But it was really cool to see him do that because it actually worked really well here. And even for it being a TV movie, like it honestly felt like a theatrical film watching it, like from the 70s. Other than having the black bars on the side and things like that, it actually felt like it could have been a theatrical film of the time. And it's kind of disappointing that it wasn't, because I feel like not as many people would have seen it or will get the opportunity to see it because of that. But it's really good. And it's really worth watching if you can track it down. It's definitely another solid B tier film. Yeah, it's got some great suspense, and it really, if you like Hitchcock, it's going to remind you of Rear Window especially. But it's not just like ripping it off or something. It's kind of a different take on the whole thing. But yeah, really good film overall as well. So I'd highly recommend that. Next is another classic from the 80s, and this is Big Trouble in Little China. And this is just a crazy fun action, adventure, kung fu kind of film with Kurt Russell. This is a good movie. I did enjoy it. I don't think I loved it as much as most people because it's usually a favorite or top 3 or top 5 Carpenter films. For me, it's still really good, and it's a solid B tier film. I thought it was funny. I thought it was clever. It was very creative and interesting. The fight scenes were cool. And yeah, like I have no real complaints about it. But it just wasn't as great in my mind as I think some other people have it. But definitely still a solid B tier film. Next up is one that people seem to hate, and it's the comedy Memoirs of an Invisible Man with Chevy Chase and Daryl Hannah and Sam Neill as well. This movie was actually good. I enjoyed it. For what it was, I thought it was good. It wasn't like laugh out loud funny all the time. There were a few moments that were, but it had a cool concept, just this guy that disappears in this building, and the way they were able to make parts of the building disappear and other parts are there. And the way they were able to integrate an invisible man into a story by, how is he going to become visible by wearing different clothes or eating food and seeing the stomach acid and things like that was quite clever. So I did enjoy it. I think I liked it more than most people, and it's another one I'm going to put in the B tier. And again, like having films like this above Escape from New York is going to send some people mad, but to be honest, this is just how I feel after having watched these films. I don't really care about, the acclaim or where 99.9% of people would put these films on their lists, because I don't want to fit into that. I just want to put out my list and how I feel about these movies. And there'll be a few more as well that are going to be a bit different from other lists as well. So In the Mouth of Madness is another film from the 90s, and this is a real kind of psychological horror film. It's a Lovecraftian film, and it's part of this unofficial trilogy of like I think it's the Apocalypse trilogy, or I think that's what it's called. And it's got The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness. So I was really excited to see this because most people say this is his last good film, and I really liked it. I thought it was quite interesting. It was very clever. There were some really scary sequences, really creative stuff with puppets, which we'll get into in a few other films as well. But Sam Neill was great here again. He worked with him after Memoirs of an Invisible Man, and he's a great actor. Obviously Jurassic Park and a few other things, but and that was all around this early 90s era as well. But yeah, In the Mouth of Madness is another solid B tier film. I'm going to put that up probably just below Christine, because it was really good. I'd really recommend that one. And just keep in mind that all these B tier films are solid films that I really like, so they're not low by any means. Next we have The Thing. So this movie, The Thing and Halloween, are pretty much the top 2 films on everyone's list for John Carpenter. Mine's going to be a little bit different because I've only got one of them in my top 2, and that is The Thing. But The Thing is my favorite John Carpenter film, and that's easily an S tier movie. I hadn't seen it for years, and I rewatched it just a couple of weeks ago and was just blown away by. It's like similar to Prince of Darkness, how it has that sense of dread and impending doom, but it's done. It's elevated as well by the cast, like Kurt Russell, as well as the location. I think it's Antarctica or the Arctic, where you've got these people in this kind of enclosed environment, and they're trapped there because there's this being or creature that you can't really see, but it takes over life forms and starts to morph and just get real ugly and disgusting. And so the actual creature, the thing itself, like what they were able to do with that in, this is 1982, I think, and they were able to make these great animatronics that really hold up today. And like that's what the film's really known for mostly, I think, is just its creature effects and its gore and stuff like that. And it's not really dated at all. Like it looks incredible, and just what they were able to do with this movie in that sense of the horrific side of what happens to these characters was really cool to kind of see. So yeah, The Thing is easily his best film in my opinion. Like I love the movie. I know why most people do. And it's another one that I've got now on 4K. Next up we have The Fog. So this is the first one that I saw when I just recently started watching John Carpenter's films. And I really liked a lot about this film, to be honest. It's going to be another high. I'm going to put it at the very top of the B tier. Yeah, I'll put it above Christine. I really like the atmosphere in this movie. Something that really gets me into a film is its atmosphere. When it has a really good one going for it, that really kind of sucks you into the movie, and it doesn't really matter. You can overlook some other flaws when it has a unique atmosphere, I think. And just this kind of like sleepy coastal town setting that The Fog has with the radio station in the lighthouse and things like that, and how it follows around like 3 or 4 different groups of characters in this town during this centennial, when this fog's rolling in and these ghost pirates are emerging, is really cool. Like some of obviously the effects and things like that are dated and other aspects, but and the characters, it's been said that the characters aren't as interesting as a lot of other Carpenter characters and films, but I really like The Fog. I think it works really well. I think it tells a ghost story really well, and it's just a fun kind of spooky night film, I think. Like it's not horrific or super scary in any way, but it's just got a great atmosphere and it's really fun. So yeah, I would recommend that movie probably more than, people seem to like it, but I really like it. And it's another one I have on Blu-ray on 4K as well. So next up we have Halloween. So this is the other one that everyone pairs with The Thing as the top 2 John Carpenter films. It's obviously very renowned for being one of the first big slasher films, even though it's very simple. It obviously kicked off a massive franchise that's still running today, which is incredible because this came out back in 1978. But to be honest, like I've never been a fan of Halloween that much. So this is if me putting Escape from New York in the C tier has annoyed a few of you, then this is going to make it worse because I'm going to put Halloween in the C tier as well. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. I think it's okay. It's very dated. It's not scary anymore. Obviously, you look at it through the lens of when it came out. But like I just find the film doesn't work for me. It's very dated. It's not scary. The action, like it's very bloodless, and the violence isn't there. The character just doesn't scare me in the sense that it does other people, I guess. And the film just seems very basic, and like it's barely lit. Like it's super dark the whole way through, and it just feels kind of cheap to me in a lot of ways. And I guess it was, but like I don't know. I've never connected with Halloween. I've watched it multiple times, and I just can't get into it. Obviously, there's things I do like about it because it's in the C tier. It's not like in D or F tier or anything like that. But like, yeah, for me personally, I just can't get into Halloween. I appreciate what it's kind of done, making this franchise and everything. But yeah, I don't really like the film that much, to be honest. So next up, we have Body Bags, and this is a 3-part anthology film that John Carpenter made with Tobe Hooper, and this is a really fun movie. So he directed the first 2 segments of the film. Tobe Hooper directed the third one, and John Carpenter stars as the mortician, who kind of introduces each story at the beginning and the end and in between. And I really like these kind of anthology films, and it was another really good one. All the mini stories in them were really different and unique from each other. I really liked the first one the most, where it was at the gas station and it was like a slasher kind of film. That was really cool, but all three of them were really good. It's another solid B tier film that I'll probably put about there. So next up we have Dark Star, which is the first film that Carpenter made in the 70s, back in 1974. It's very cheap. It's very strange. I think it was made to be a short film originally. It was a student film, but then it somehow got a theatrical release, so they were able to make more footage and extend it to, I think it's like 83 minutes or something like that. But the movie just drags, even though it's only 80 minutes long, it drags and it's boring, and like there's some cool effects and things like that, and it's cool if you look at it through the lens of a first film or a student film, but as an entertaining film that you can rewatch, it's definitely not that. It's actually my least favorite John Carpenter film, so it's going next to Ghosts of Mars in the F tier. And like I said, I can appreciate some aspects of it being a first film, but when you've got a beach ball as an alien, like it just doesn't really work. And yeah, the movie didn't work for me much at all. And last but not least, we have Assault on Precinct 13, which is a Siege film that it was only his second film actually. He made it in the 70s as well. And this film was alright. I didn't love it. I just thought it was okay. It's probably another one that I'd throw in a C tier. I'll put it above Starman. So it was alright. There were things I liked about it. The siege didn't really happen though until like halfway through the film. And then when it does happen, it's very old, so it's quite dated and things like that. So there's a lot of cutaways and things. You don't really see a lot of what happens when there's the shootouts and stuff. But it was just okay. Like I didn't really think anything too much of it. So yeah, that's long enough. We've made a 20-minute video. So thanks guys for watching. Sorry if I've annoyed you by putting Halloween or Escape from New York or Assault from Precinct 13 too low. I know a lot of people love these films that are in the C tier. And would have them in the S or A tier, but to be honest, like this is my list, and I love the S and A tier films here, and all the B tier films I really enjoy as well. So I would recommend them, and I really did like watching John Carpenter's movies, and I would recommend him as a director. But yeah, obviously I've just got different tastes from most people, so in that aspect of his filmography. So thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll be back with more videos real soon, and I'll see you then. Bye.